Raider Nation, what is going on? Good morning. Welcome to the Raider Ranch out here on the ranch land. This is our little getaway from home, our little away from home. And, like the Raiders, the Raider Ranch, unofficial name, because the wifey has a different opinion on what we should call the Raider Ranch, but I'm going with Raider Ranch either way, is that there are problems. And so when I woke up this morning, because it was freezing cold in the cabin, and I couldn't understand why, because we have a mini split in there, I went out and checked the generator, and it was leaking gas as the gas line had a crack in it. And so it's not holding the gasoline, and now my generator shed / woodshed is soaked with gasoline and ready to burn down to ashes, just like the Raiders. It is a Predator generator from Harbor Freight. I had to turn the first one in to Harbor Freight on a warranty claim because it conked out with very limited use in only a year. And so this is the replacement unit, which has only been used 4 times and already has a fuel leak, which is extraordinarily dangerous. I love Harbor Freight, but the Predator generator, not it. So now I got to take this one back on a warranty again because, well, can't afford to just be buying new generators every other week. And we'll see how long that one lasts. And it's kind of like AP. So where am I going with this, Raider Nation? Well, where I'm going with it is that according to NFL sources, there's an executive with the Las Vegas Raiders who has basically stated, as a secret source, so to speak, Antonio Pierce is done after next week's game. That it won't even take long. He may be fired almost immediately after next week's game. And the candidates right now, this is going to shock you because it certainly shocked me a whole lot. And that is that Marvin Lewis is on top of the list as a immediate replacement candidate. Now, of course, there are other guys on there as well, like a Mike Vrabel. Also, Ben Johnson is highly touted and on the list of candidates. Even Patrick Graham could end up taking over the team. But according to this undercover executive with the Las Vegas Raiders, Mark Davis is fed up with Antonio Pierce. He has already pretty much made the decision. Antonio Pierce will be on his way out the door after next week's game. So that's pretty interesting to me. I knew that he was on the hot seat. I knew that Mark Davis was looking at potential candidates. But according to this executive, Antonio Pierce is going to be a one and done type of head coach. And that's it. That's all you get. You were given the keys to the ship and you wrecked the ship into a reef and destroyed it. So, I don't know. Is that fair to Antonio Pierce? Let's have a conversation about that down in the comments because I even though I understand it, I don't think it's fair to Antonio Pierce for a few reasons. Number one, he had Luke Getsy for an offensive coordinator. Terrible. The offense has looked better since him being fired. And Scott Turner officially taking over as interim offensive coordinator and then bringing in his dad. So there's that. And then number 2 is the Raiders' injuries has been atrocious. We are one of the worst teams in the NFL when it comes to the injury ratio to our 53-man roster. We've had, I believe, as of last week, the most players that have been on IR of any team in the NFL. You've had 3 different starting quarterbacks, and that makes it really difficult to win. Despite all of that, there is, according to some of the players that we talked to, there is a understanding amongst the players that they want Antonio Pierce back. They actually believe in him, that this wasn't all his fault, and that if he's given another year and we don't have all of the injuries and we have a competent offensive coordinator, that we could actually win some games. So they've put together a petition and they're going to present it to Mark Davis stating that this is not on Antonio Pierce. They believe in Antonio Pierce, and they think that he should get another shot at head coach next year, that he should not be sacked. That's interesting to me because when you look at other teams that are in the Las Vegas Raiders situation, most of them have given up already. And yet the Raiders have not given up. Everybody out there is playing their butts off. They are grinding and working hard. Now, one player that is missing in action that was supposed to be back by now, but we have had absolutely no updates about, is Christian Wilkins. Christian Wilkins was only supposed to be out 4 to 6 weeks with his injury. Well, he's been out now, I think, 8 weeks. And still no mention of him coming back and playing even a single game this season just to see how good a football shape he's in and how good he could actually be for this team. And for me, that's really concerning. Did Christian Wilkins give up on this team when he seen the writing on the wall already? Because I was one of the people that was calling for the Raiders to go out and get Christian Wilkins because he is a very impactful defensive tackle. He's one of the best in the NFL. When he's on, he is on. We need him out there on the field. We're not going to get the number 1 overall pick. That is a done data. It's over. But we could still end up with Shedeur Sanders depending how everything pans out. If we lose today and we lose next week, the Raiders could be in a position to still end up with Shedeur Sanders because New York is kind of, leaks that are coming out of New York is that they are way more interested in Cam Ward, which I agree with, so am I. However, there's no way Deion Sanders is going to allow his son to go to a team like Tennessee or the Cleveland Browns. And so he may basically let both of those teams know, if you draft my son, he ain't going. We'll force a trade. And so the Raiders at pick number 5 or 6 or maybe even 7 still end up with Shedeur Sanders. And therefore, Antonio Pierce would have a franchise quarterback under his regime. And already he has a relationship with that family, unlike a new coach that you're going to bring in. The other part is Maxx Crosby. Now, we talked about Maxx Crosby. If you haven't seen that video, check it out. But Maxx Crosby basically said that we're going to have contract renegotiations at the end of this season because he doesn't have any more guaranteed money, and he is sick of the inconsistency and the change in the Raiders. So is this Maxx Crosby sending a shot over the bow to Mark Davis that he still wants Antonio Pierce? He still believes in Antonio Pierce, and he does not want another new head coach next season. He doesn't want another defensive coordinator. He doesn't want another teardown. He wants Antonio Pierce back. And so the contract negotiation portion of it is him sending a message to Mark Davis, hey, keep Antonio Pierce. We need consistency. I'm sick of it. New coaches every other year. New defensive line every single year. Enough is enough. I don't know. I'm just trying to read between the lines and what he had to say. But to me, it kind of seems like that's what he's saying. Maybe it's not that he's saying he wants to leave, but he's just trying to put more pressure on Mark to keep Antonio Pierce. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. It's freezing cold out here. I'm going to go inside and get some Raider coffee. Raiders! Salute, nation!